Hello, this is Encounters with Life. I'm Sean Abigail, your host. It is time Canada took Alberta seriously. With all that's happening right now politically in Canada, with the threats of tariffs and so on, it is time that we took Alberta seriously. And it's taken me some time to get to this point, but let me explain. When Justin Trudeau first came in as Prime Minister, I told anyone who would listen that before he was finished, there would be a full-blown national unity crisis. And right now, we are that close to it. There are a number of different people who are responsible for this, and I've got on the screen here, here's a list of them. Donald Trump, Alberta itself, Justin Trudeau, and the province of Quebec. Let me explain how each of these is responsible. So Donald Trump, to start off with, his threat of 25% tariffs has been like a hand grenade tossed into our national unity mix. And right now, everyone's trying to figure out, okay, what can we do as a country to fight back? If there's a trade war, what options do we have? And all of the provinces are getting together, trying to figure this out. And Alberta is saying, no, oil is not on the table. Now, that's a problem. Donald Trump, that's a problem. It's also a problem that Alberta is saying oil is not on the table, because for Ontario, the auto pack is on the table. For Quebec, supply chain management is something that's going to be on the table. Everyone's going to have to make sacrifices, but Alberta is saying no. But let me get back to that in just a second. The third person that's responsible for this whole crisis is Justin Trudeau, of course. His decisions that he's made, and I'm going to explain more about this in just a minute, and his approach to Alberta has alienated the West. The Liberals have an old saying that they're quite fond of. It's been around for 40 or 50 years. Please forgive me the strong language, but screw the West, we'll take the rest. That's the Liberal approach to dealing with Alberta. And finally, Quebec. Quebec, that has its own national unity crisis moments, is also in part responsible for all of this. Let me explain. Alberta gives a tremendous amount of money to the other provinces. If you look at the Alberta transfer meter here, there's a website, fairnessalberta.ca. You'll see that Albertans sent $324 billion more to the rest of Canada than was spent in Alberta over, say, the last 20 years. That's a huge amount of money. Now, this transfer payments go to provinces that don't have the same ability to generate revenue, and ensures that Canadians across the country get comparable services with a comparable level of taxation. All sounds good, except there's one province that's been paying for it all, and that's Alberta. If you look at this next slide, this is from Scott Moe, who is the Premier of Saskatchewan. You see that all the provinces are not equal in what they're getting. So the Western provinces are doing fairly well economically and are paying into the system a lot more than they're getting out. And this is particularly true of Alberta. Alberta gets nothing in transfer payments. Quebec, on the other hand, gets 13.6 billion, or will, in the 25-26 period, will get $13.6 billion in transfer payments. Now, on a per capita basis, Quebec does not get as much as some of the eastern provinces. They're not getting as much in absolute terms, but they are getting a huge amount in per capita terms. So, how does Alberta feel about this? How does Alberta feel about constantly being the goose that laid the golden egg? Well, my understanding is that most Albertans are very patriotic. They want to be part of Canada, but they're tired of getting a raw deal. Now, I've been saying for a while on these videos that in dealing with the United States, Canada has one option that's available to us, and that is to turn off the energy flow. Yes, electricity, but primarily oil. And it turns out I was wrong. That is not an option because of the pipelines. The pipelines that go from Alberta to Ontario actually go through the United States. The United States can turn off oil to Eastern Canada anytime they want. So we do not have that option. It looked like we were going to have that option with the Energy East pipeline, which would have run all through Ontario and Quebec and into Eastern Canada, and that pipeline would have been entirely within Canada, entirely within our control. We would have had that opportunity. But someone, Justin Trudeau, didn't like this because he doesn't like oil. He doesn't like oil as an energy source. He wanted to be ecologically friendly. He wanted to be green. He hates carbon. And so he killed it. He made sure that that was not going to proceed. And I guess his thinking was, well, if you can't bring the energy to market, then you're not going to pump it. It's going to stay in the ground, and so there's no problems with carbon. And if that's your number one concern in life, more power to you. That's the way to do it. But for the rest of us, it has resulted in a disaster. You'll notice, though, on that map, the pipeline goes through Quebec, and that's where Quebec is part of the problem. You see, Quebecers are very ecologically concerned, and while they're happy to take $13 billion a year in transfer payments, they do not want pipelines. And so about 1/3 of Quebecers supported the Energy East pipeline. The Premier of Quebec said, no way, it's not going to happen. And so Quebec is part of the problem. So Canada is left trying to fight Donald Trump's tariffs with one hand tied behind our back. But the answer to this is not to push Alberta into a corner. Because, I don't think Donald Trump really wants Canada as the 51st state. It's too left-leaning. It would skew American politics for decades to come. But I think he'd be very happy to have Alberta, which is much more right-wing leaning and which has vast quantities of oil. I think he'd be very happy to have them joined as the 51st state. I don't think Albertans really want that. They just don't want to be pushed into a corner. And so in all of our negotiations, in what's available to us to fight Donald Trump, it's tough, I know, but we have to make sure that we take Alberta seriously. It's the goose that laid the golden egg. It will continue to lay the golden egg, and it just wants to be recognized for what it is contributing to all of us. Well, that's my thoughts. I'm curious to know your thoughts. I'd love to see some of your comments on this. Am I off base? Is Alberta just being selfish? Are the other provinces not being sensitive enough to Alberta's concerns? Can Quebec be pushed into allowing a pipeline if they get to keep supply chain management, for instance, and if they get to keep equalization payments? I'd love to hear your opinions. Thanks. I'm Sean Abigail. Hey, this has been Encounters with Life with Sean Abigail. If you've enjoyed this content, if you'd like to see more content like it, please like, subscribe, and share with others. Also leave a comment because I'm interested to know what you think. Thanks a lot.